In Parashat Bereshit, chapter 1, verse 26, God says, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness." To the untrained eye, this would seem pretty normal, but you've heard this pasuk 1,000 times, but what does it mean, let us make man in our image? In the Zohar, they tell us that God was really speaking to every living creature that he created until now, because human beings were the last ones in the list. And he really told them, let us make man in our image. Let us endow man with the ability to be as animal-like or as God-like as they choose. They could take any quality of any creature and use it to either for the service of God or to be more like animals. So when you keep reading the verse, this is what it sounds like. They shall rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and over the animal, the whole earth, every living, creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. When you combine that understanding with what the Zohar tells us, you're really seeing that man's ruling over all these animals isn't just in a physical sense where we're hunting and gathering them and using them to our benefit. It's also within man himself. He has this cosmic zoo within himself that he's able to harness. And if he does that properly, he's able to rule over all these animalistic forces within himself to serve God. So today here on Bnei HaNeviim, we're going to be learning about how to be more like caterpillars. I was out at a park earlier this summer for my son's birthday. We had a little play date out in the park, and with most parks it was surrounded by trees. And what we noticed there was like hundreds of caterpillars just crawling all over the ground and all over the trees and getting all over the table and everything. And I had an interesting discussion with one of my friends regarding these caterpillars. As I picked that one caterpillar up on my finger, I was like showing them to my son, and like they were looking at it, it was like so cool, it's so cute. I was discussing with my friend, isn't it so interesting that God created so many creepy, crawly critters on this earth, and for some reason caterpillars, they don't scare us as much as, let's say, a silverfish. Those things are, really the epitome of something that's sent out from hell. That's something very scary. You don't even want to get near one of those. But a caterpillar, you like pick them up and like show them to your kid, and like they're all cute and fluffy and everything's fine. But if you look at their structure, they're very much the same. They're like furry, many-legged creatures, and maybe just caterpillar walks a little bit slower than a silverfish. But why is it that we have a different reaction when we see them? So my friend was suggesting that it's really that every creature was given a certain different level of grace or chen to behold in the eyes of human beings. Or like a snake, everyone gets scared of it. All these different creatures like sharks, and there's certain creatures you get scared of instinctively, and even if they're not really causing you any danger or harm, you get freaked out by them. You don't even want to be near them. So it was an idea I took home, and I was thinking about it the rest of the week. Why is it that certain animals have, or creatures have, different levels of appeal to us as opposed to others? Then I started thinking about this Zohar that I heard, where really this cosmic zoo is within us, and we're there to learn from these different character traits of different animals. And I thought to myself, maybe there's a reason why this specific caterpillar has a certain grace in our eyes, is because it really embodies a certain way that we're supposed to be. And when you examine the life cycle of a caterpillar, it really embodies what the human being's life should be like if he really harnesses and tries to reach his full potential. When we analyze that life cycle of the caterpillar, as he goes from a little worm to a cocoon when he wraps himself up, and then to a butterfly, I think we'll find that a lot of his life cycle embodies maybe some of the practices that a lot of successful people we look up to have embodied in themselves. And that's really what gives the caterpillar a lot more grace in our eyes. Just like those people we look up to, we want to know everything about them and what they did to get to where they are. I think we'll realize that there's a lot in common between a caterpillar that we can integrate within ourselves to really come to fruition with all our life's goals. So step one for the caterpillar definitely symbolizes that youth, or that stage of youth that we have. And for better or worse, some of us squandered a lot of that playing video games and whatnot. Maybe too much, a little bit is okay here and there. But those formative years are definitely so essential for us to lay the track for where we want to go on later in life, what we can learn, how we can stay focused, and really building up what our dreams are and realizing what we want to do in life. Caterpillar, what he's doing all day since he's born is basically eating. You'll find him hanging out on leaves and just biting away, chomping as much as they can. And for a Torah Jew, I think that's the same as our formative years. We should really value taking in the Torah, taking as much Torah as we can, so that we can just grow and know the basics and know the fundamentals of what we need to grow into a successful person. At this stage, the caterpillar is really unformed, underdeveloped. He can't really walk that fast. He can't really go too far. All he can do is take in, and that's really what a human being should see himself. We should really become consumers of positive information that can make us change for the better and make us strive to reach our goals and do what we need to do to become successful in life. And for a Jew, that constant intake of Torah is very critical for our developing years. You should toil in it day and night, and really realize that if you don't toil in it day and night, that's really going to stunt your growth later on. As anyone who has a child knows that book, A Very Hungry Caterpillar, at the same time you have to stay away from a lot of things that would detract you from going into the right direction or consuming the right content. As with A Very Hungry Caterpillar, he ate a slice of salami, a slice of cherry pie, a lollipop, watermelon, and he got a stomachache. The next stage the caterpillar takes is he cocoons himself inside this warm little pod, and he just stays still and he transforms himself. And as you might have guessed, this would really parallel with the stage of maybe going to yeshiva or just taking that time off to focus on what your goals are, what's your life plan, what's your goals, and refining that vision for yourself. And everyone needs to be real with themselves with how much time they need to refine that vision. And not everyone maybe have a chance to go for a few years to either yeshiva or just take some time off to actually figure out what you want to do in life. But you should definitely set out some time aside every day or as many times as you can a week to refine that vision so that you actually have a path in which you can follow through with. And at the end of the day, we know that any caterpillar that doesn't go through this metamorphosis in that pod is toast. The caterpillar will not become a butterfly if it does not build up those wings in that pod. And as we all know, the final stage of this transformation is the butterfly. The magnificent butterfly that we have conservatories that we go visit and we go wonder at the beautiful colors and the amazing flight of these creatures, and after their transformation, we don't have conservatories for silverfish or worms. The same thing goes for obviously the people who are successful in life. People look after them, people read their biographies. No one's looking at people's Facebook pages who have, or their Instagrams or whatever they're using, if they're not doing anything productive with their life. And the last leg of transformation for these butterflies is they make that once in a lifetime journey back to South America from here in North America, in Ontario for us. And it's a very wondrous journey because these butterflies have never been there before. This is one of the, I guess, miracles of creation, or one of the scientific wonders of the world, is that how does a butterfly make it to a place that it's never been to and finds its way home. So I think there are a few things that we can learn from this, is that these butterflies, the only reason they're doing this is to get back and mate again and procreate so they can restart the cycle over. So I think for someone who is constantly developing themselves, is that you also have to have an aspect that you're trying to do kindness or chesed with others and try to help others get on board to really fulfill their potential in life. You can be selfish and make that, 100,000-mile journey on your own, or you can take a lot others along with you and make the other people's lives more meaningful. And that is a very critical lesson we can learn from the butterfly, is that they travel as a group. They don't want to just be that lone guy who made it to the top. They want to take everyone else with them. And I think that's a very virtuous lesson that we can learn, and that Hashem wants us to learn from these caterpillars turned into butterflies. And it really mirrors what our Chachamim said in Pirkei Avot, and you should raise many students. It's not just enough for you to be the wisest guy in the group. Raise many students, and you should be happy when your students become even greater than you. And one last lesson that I picked out of this whole metaphor is that when I actually related this idea back to my friend who I had that initial discussion with, he mentioned, isn't it interesting that they know where to go? Just like how your neshama knows where it's going to end up after 120 years, after being righteous and doing everything you have to do. Our souls will just know their way back to Hashem and to cleave to Hashem again. So I think that was a very interesting last point, is that we should really realize that deep down inside we know that there's greater things to do as opposed to vegging out and watching TV all day. There's greater things that we can accomplish, and I think everyone feels that inherently in themselves. But at the end of the day, we all know where we have to get. It's just a question of what steps are you willing to take to make it there. So I think this Zohar that we saw in the beginning is very eye-opening and could really open a whole new vista on how you look at animals and how you can gain new insights from them and how to live your life. Even the Shulchan Aruch opens up. You should wake up in the morning like a lion, strong as a lion, to serve your Creator. So we see from here that there are lessons that we can learn from every creature, every living being, and Hashem designed these creatures so that we can pick up information from them and learn from them. So if you get a chance, find another nice little caterpillar and follow along maybe, and just spend a few minutes to reflect on it and meditate on like what is this creature, and like look how beautiful it is and what it's doing and what it's aspiring to be, and really take those lessons into yourself and see how you can do the same. That's our goal here at Bnei HaNeviim, is to reach our potential, live every day like it's your last, and remember there's time but no time to waste.